an inspiring environment for our collaboration, learning and celebrating the tremendous achievements of future problem solvers in 2025. I must also thank, here at my side, National Director Simon Canfield, Deputy Director Simon Treadgold, Executive Director Suzanne Digby and Community Engagement Manager Jenny Bunnage, and the entire team from Future Problem Solving Australia for their tireless work in bringing the future problem solving community together. Over the coming days, each of you will engage in exciting competitions, showcase your skills, and connect with like-minded peers from around the nation. So, embrace the experience, support one another, and enjoy the journey as you explore and explode the possibilities of future problem solving. Once again, congratulations to all of you and welcome to the 2025 Australian Future Problem Solving National Finals. Have a great weekend. I'd now like to invite Mackay Bron from Knox Grammar School to give the acknowledgement of country.
Gujigu bingai jara, gujigu dekan jara, nata bitapai borai, ye barabai barai, yigu mara bangai marambu. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Guringai and Darug people of the Eora Nation, and I'd like to pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you.
I'd now like to call to the stage Simon Canfield, the National Director of the Australian Future Problem Solving Program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. And thank you, Mackay, yes, for joining us today. Really appreciate having local students sharing their culture and welcoming us to this space. So it's great to be here. Thank you. I'm okay. Am I going to start my speech? Welcome to the 2045 Future Problem Solving National Finals. We greatly appreciate our beautiful venue here at the Knox Grammar campus in the Sea of Tranquility on the Moon. The Knox Grammar Lunar Campus is a beautiful facility here inside the plexiglass dome looking down on the Earth. And we thank you all for making the effort to be here in person, as a remote avatar, or by using your brain-infused robot biosuit. Wait a minute. Whoops. Sorry. I just realized this is only 2025. Sorry, my time travel vehicle must have sent me to the wrong finals ceremony. It's a candidate for defenestration. I should just throw it out the window. Sorry, that's my cheer squad there. They threw the word defenestrate at me to include in my speech somewhere, and I've done it now so I can relax for the rest of the evening. Let's start again. Welcome to the 2025 Australian Future Problem Solving National Finals, the 36th, not the 56th Australian Finals. This year at the lovely Earth campus of Knox Grammar School in Sydney. This year we have explored 4 varied yet connected topics of food security, rising sea levels, agricultural industry, and the finals topic of nanotechnology. Thousands of creative students have created futuristic written scenarios, performed creative performances, developed long-term community projects, and developed valuable plans of action in the Global Issues Booklet competition. This weekend, we welcome you, the students and coaches and parents, to the culminating event for the year, the Australian National Finals. The teams and individuals here have qualified among the top % in the country, and you should be very proud of achieving an invitation here. Congratulations. Give yourselves a clap. Tonight marks the official opening of the competition, and tomorrow you'll all be challenged to bring your best thinking and share that with other competitors, judges, and evaluators. You are prepared, You've done the hard work. Now it's time to enjoy the rewards of your efforts. Some of you may even receive an invitation to the 2026 International Conference in the USA. I wish you all the best of luck with that endeavor, if attending the International Conference is one of your goals, of course. And if it's not, it's fine. It's cool. On the topic of the International Conference this year, we're honored to have the presence of Kyla Mocharnik. I'm sure I mispronounced her name. She's the competition director from Future Problem Solving International. Kyla, are you here somewhere? She's hiding somewhere. She's probably taking pictures. Oh, she's way at the back there. Hello, Kyla. She's an American, and she's here in Australia. It's very cool to have you. Where she's assisting us with community problem-solving evaluations and sharing her experience from the USA. So it's great to have her along. If you do see her around this weekend, say g'day to her in your best Australian accent, and feel free to ask her about the International Conference. Welcome, Kyla. It's great to have you here. Speaking of meeting new people, this weekend I'd like to encourage you to network, to find opportunities to connect with other people at the competition. Maybe you're in a booklet competition as a magic, and you can meet some new people there. Maybe you're in the writer's workshop as a scenario writer. Maybe you're eating your lunch next to someone from another school. Or maybe you're a coach wondering how other schools do FPS. Say hello, ask questions. Who knows, you may learn something new or even make a new friend. So I encourage you to. We're nice people here, get to meet people. So a final welcome and another official way of starting today is a tradition that we have had for a long time, and that's the presentation of flags. Shortly, you'll see a procession of state and national flags of Australia. They're coming from the back of the room. As well as these, the flags of each school that you have created will appear up on the big screen. Feel free to cheer your school and your state. It'd be lovely to have a bit of vibes happening. Wow. I've lost them. Wow. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks. Wow. Maybe hold the cheering until your flag arrives. So just bottle it for just a moment. This year, the New South Wales convener, Anna Meseriti, will introduce the flags, and I'd like to ask Anna to return to the microphone. Thank you. Enjoy the flag presentation.
So the flag bearer from New South Wales this year is Charles Cohen from Newcastle Grammar School. And the New South Wales schools this year are Ascombe School, Covenant Christian School, Emmanuel School, Georges River Grammar School, Illawarra Christian School, Innerburra School. We have one independent competitor from New South Wales. Please give them a round of applause. And we have Kambala. Whew. Do you think Kambala made it tonight? Okay. Knox Grammar School. Lindfield Public School. Loreto Kirribilli. Newcastle Grammar School. Pittwater House, Ravenswood School for Girls, Rosebank College, St Catherine's School, Stella Maris College Manly, Tara Anglican School for Girls, and William Clark College. From Queensland, The flag bearer is Felicity Enever from Stewart Home School. And the schools attending from Queensland include Brigidine College, Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Genesis Christian College, Indrapilli State School, Marist College, Ashgrove, Moreton Bay College, Mount St Michael's College, Pacific Lutheran College, St Andrew's Anglican College, St Joachim's Primary School, St Joseph's College, Gregory Terrace, St Peter's Lutheran College, Stewart Home School, the Southport School, Westside Christian College. And the flag bearer for South Australia is Seth Jennings from St Columba College. The schools from South Australia participating this weekend are Scotch College Junior School, St Columba College and St Peter's College. The Tasmanian flag bearer is Olivia Ding from Waimea Heights Primary School. The flag bearer from Victoria is Joanna Zhang from St Leonard's College. And the schools from Victoria include Bacchus Marsh Grammar School, Woodley Campus, Camberwell Grammar School, Carey Baptist Grammar School, Caulfield Grammar School, Home Education Australia, Ivanhoe Grammar School, Kilvington Grammar School, Methodist Ladies College, Melbourne, Northcote High School, St Leonard's College, and Wesley College, St Kilda Campus. From Western Australia, our flag bearer is Elliot Wibowo from Harrisdale Senior High School. And the schools from Western Australia participating this weekend are Chrysalis Montessori School, Harrisdale Senior High School, Iona Presentation College, Lake Joondalup Baptist College, Penrose College, Presbyterian Ladies College, Perth, Ross Moyne Senior High School, Santa Maria College, St Mary's Anglican Girls' School, and Willetton Senior High School. And now we have the three flags of Australia. Boren Cow, Jay Yang, Jerry Yin, and William Gay are the two boys accompanying the Australian flag from Knox Grammar School.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. A big round of applause to all our flag bearers today. Thank you. It's my pleasure to shortly welcome Dr. Andrew Weeding, the Deputy Headmaster, K-12 and Head of Senior School at Knox Grammar School, to the microphone in just a moment. We're so grateful to be welcomed into this beautiful school community, one known for its strong academic tradition, vibrant culture and notable alumni, including former Prime Minister Gough William and actor Hugh Jackman. Ooh, didn't know that, did you? Dr. Weeding's leadership is marked by a deep commitment to student growth and opportunity. Are you a bit nervous about what I'm going to say next? I'll be okay. He encourages every student to make the most of what Knox offers, reminding us that the opportunity at the schools are significant and students should embrace them. Outside his professional role, Dr. Weeding enjoys swimming and cycling, and perhaps his most courageous trait remains a loyal West Tigers supporter through every season. It's very brave indeed, particularly from someone who's coming from Brisbane. We're honoured to have him with us today, and we thank Knox Grammar School in particular for their hospitality and support. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Andrew Weeding.
Well, thank you, Simon. And it is an absolute privilege and pleasure to have you all here. We are so honoured as a school to be hosting the national finals. When we went into conversation during the national finals last year, which I had the pleasure of being at, we started the discussions, and when we were selected to host the finals, it genuinely is a real honour for us to have such a group collected here who really epitomise what we try and achieve in education. We've got our Year 12 boys who have just started their high school certificate examinations this week, and obviously we are working with them to ensure they get the best results possible and that they can move on to have options when they leave school to start pursuing careers that they want to. But the education goes far beyond that. We have, and if you go onto our website, you'll see our graduate profile, and I'll refer to that in just a moment. But our graduate profile does not mention academics at all. It mentions many skills such as resilience and optimism, moral character, areas that we endeavour to achieve with our students when they leave the gates that will see them through into the next phases of their life. And to be able to stand in front of you as future problem solvers and to talk to such a committed group of students who are working to better themselves well beyond an ATAR. And that's what you're doing by being involved in future problem solving. And you should all be very proud that you're doing it. And to know that approximately you're in the top 10% of students who attempted to be sitting here today is testament not just to you and to your teachers who are coaching you, but also to the many, many, many students that are not here today and that trialed to try to be here today. And it is testament also to the strength of the Future Problem Solving organisation and the skills that they're working to develop, whether you qualify for the national finals or not. So massive congratulations for being here. And also to your teachers, and I know that if you haven't done so already, you will find the appropriate time to thank them for all the work that they put into preparing you to be here. But please know that as an educator, and I've been in education now for close to 40 years, the skills that you're developing in such an environment like this will see you well beyond completing your final Year 12 exams whenever you get to doing that. So congratulations on being here. Just thought I would give you just a little bit of a quick takeaway for Knox that you can think about when you are walking across the campus over the next 24 hours, and it is a big campus. Take pity on maybe some of our Year 7 and 8 students. This is their home here. This Academy of Performing Arts here is associated with our Junior Academy, and that's where our Year 7 and 8 boys, this is their home. Sometimes they've got to go across the campus to where you'll be tomorrow 3 to 4 times in the day. They certainly get their steps up. And when they then move finally to the other end of the school in the senior area, the Senior Academy, as we call it for Years 11 and 12, they do appreciate not having to walk backwards and forwards so much in a day. But we have about 400 students in each year group. So each stage, so this is the Junior Academy stage 4, which is Years 7 and 8. There's about 800 students that live in this building, just to the left of me. So in total, that gives us a student population of just over 3,000. We have 200 boarders, and our boarders really are the heart and soul of our school. And as you walk out of this building through the gates and start heading south down the boulevard, when you're there tomorrow, maybe just look on the right-hand side and you'll see the boarding houses there. Last year, we proudly celebrated our centenary, and when you're walking down the boulevard tomorrow, you'll be able to see our logo, our centenary logo. And you'll be able to see characteristics in that logo that show deep tradition with our school, especially the Scottish Piper within the logo. And then if you look closely at the 100, you can see the zeros are in the form of the infinity symbol to show that enduring longevity of our school that we know will continue for many years to come. So if you've been to Edinburgh and you've walked along the Royal Mile, heading up towards the castle, Edinburgh Castle, you might have seen John Knox's house. So John Knox in the 16th century, Scottish reformer in many areas, but he was founder of the Presbyterian Church in Scotland, also a significant educational reformer. That's who Knox is named after. And in 1924, it was the founders at the time in the Presbyterian Church, so it was a Presbyterian church that founded us, that wanted to honour John Knox's legacy with education, which is why they named Knox Knox. And as you walk down the boulevard tomorrow, I encourage you just to have a look at our original school building. And that's the building that is about midway along the oval, and it looks onto the oval. And if you have a close look at that building, you'll see some characteristics in that building that look a little bit castle-esque. Looks at things in there such as turrets, castle appearances, gargoyles on the side. That's really characteristic of 16th century architecture that had a revival in the 19th century, but architecture called baronial architecture. And it's got that, not just those castle-like appearances, but it's also got that Renaissance elegance. And if you were so that's the original school building. And then if you look at the other buildings as you walk out of this one, and as you head down, we've got the Great Hall on the left-hand side as you move through the gates there. and then that's the Great Hall, and then the buildings on either end of the oval, you'll see that they've been designed in a very similar style to the original school building to capture that baronial architecture. See if you can see the shout out to the 70s architecture at the school. You'll notice that it sort of like sticks out like a beacon, but we've got plans to try to fix that at some point in the future. So when I was looking at our graduate profile, I mentioned that just before, and I said I'd come back to it. I thought, what's one element in our graduate profile that is representative of the students that we've got here today as part of future problem solving? And I chose optimism out of it. And if I just read out what our blurb is on optimism in our graduate profile. So we aim for students to carry themselves with confidence and have a positive outlook, inspiring others with our hope-filled attitude to life. And I chose that because I'm sure that we will see these components on display as you present your solutions to your problems over this weekend. I'm certainly looking forward to hearing many of those over the course of the weekend. Simon, you did actually take a little bit of what I was going to say here and talk about some of our past graduates. You mentioned Gough Whitlam. You mentioned Hugh Jackman. I'm actually an old boy here, and my locker was right next to Hugh Jackman's. We were both 86 leavers, and I used to actually catch the train with Hugh down to university back in... He took a year of exchange in 1987, went on a gap year over to England, and he was at UTS where I was, and we'd jump on the train together occasionally at Turramurra Station. He was at Pymble, and then we'd catch a train down together. But yeah, interesting. He would always say, he was with the Willoughby Musical Society at the time, just enjoying it, and he just got picked up through that just because of the opportunity that he took to be involved in that musical society. So he certainly had a very interesting story. But other graduates, any cricket fans here? Any cricket fans? Sydney Thunder, Chris Green, sometimes captain when David Warner's not in the team, so he left Knox a few years ago. If you're watching the rugby against the British and Irish Lions in the recent Tests, Bledisloe Cup and the Rugby Championships, you might have seen big second rower Nick Frost. He left recently as well. But there's another who I would consider, I'd put this graduate well above all of them, absolutely well above. And I believe he's the president of the Board of Trustees of International Future Problem Solving. And I'm just going to refer to that because I'm going to put it down as to him being a better graduate than all those others. I'd put that down maybe to his chemistry teacher at the time. And I remember Dylan always sitting in the front row with you, in the front row, and Dylan was just the most outstanding student, meticulous in everything he did, motivated. And can I tell you, as Dylan's teacher from many years ago, how so proud I am to have him sitting on the stage here. So we're looking forward to hearing from you in a moment. So it's nice to see that not just law, but chemistry as well. Despite your chemistry teacher, you pursued a career in chemistry. So very proud of you, Dylan. I'd just like to give a few thanks as well. Firstly, I've seen the work being done by the FPS organising committee over the last few days, but I know it goes well beyond the last few days. It's over the last 12 months, so especially working in our back offices over the last few days. Suzanne, Simon and Jenny, thank you for all the work that you've done here. If you also just indulge me for a moment, because we are hosting, so I suppose I get to be able to say this. I'm very proud of our own students that are here today and the inspiration that they provide for FPS at Knox. At Knox, we've been running FPS for about 20 years now, and I know that while I'm deputy, and on behalf of our headmaster, Scott James, as well, we both speak about future problem solving and the benefit that a program like this brings to the school. And as long as we're here, future problem solving will be certainly encouraged all the time. But to our students that are here, Boren, Jay, Jerry, and the two Wills, we're really proud of you to be able to get to this point, and thank you for all that you do to inspire FPS, because we had many other teams trialling as well. And I even saw maybe up in the background there we had some FPS of old where we had Harry and Martin pop in, so it's really nice to see that commitment, and we are very committed to FPS at Knox. I'd also like to thank our coaches, and that's Alec Cook, and as I said, indulge me because the other coach is my son, and he's been involved with FPS for many years, and he was mentored by Dylan, and you can see the cycle that a program like this develops, and I would hope that many of you as well will continue the legacy of FPS in your schools as well. So don't underestimate the potential you have to make sure that such an incredible concept just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And Dylan was telling me before that FPS numbers is certainly on the rise nationally. So you're all responsible here for making sure that the whole concept of FPS keeps ticking over. I'd also like to thank very much my colleagues who have been heavily involved in the organisation of this, Megan Bailey and Stacey Cleary. You'll see them around over the next 24 hours and the work that they've been doing with the FPS organising committee. I'm really, really proud of my colleagues who have been doing that. And sitting up in the wings there, who'll be here for the weekend, we've got Cheryl Chee and David Parsons, and I thank them very much for the work that they're going to be doing as well. And also we've got our media expert on my left here, Tammy. So thanks for all the work that you're doing, Tammy. And also, as I said earlier on, make sure students, you acknowledge the work of your teachers, and to all the staff here and all the coaches, I thank you very much for the work you put into FPS as well. Without your support, such an event like this doesn't occur. So to that end, again, a very, very warm welcome on behalf of the entire Knox school community. We're so very fortunate to have you here. All the very best in your competition, and look forward to seeing what you come up with and the results at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's amazing to have a passionate senior leader who can see the benefit of future problem solving and is also so proud of their own school and students. So I really, really appreciate that. And who knows, if you catch up with him during the weekend, you might get some Hugh Jackman stories as well. Maybe they used to do sit-ups together and work on your six-pack, so I'm not sure what happened at the lockers. Excellent. Thank you very much, Andrew. Tonight, our keynote speaker, as has been hinted, is Dylan Sherman, a lawyer, nanomaterial scientist and educator. He's a multi-award-winning scholar, leader and mentor, recognised with Oxford 3-minute thesis titles, the Ashok Kumar Fellowship at the UK Parliament, and STEM for Britain's Honours. He's just, wait, Dylan, I've got a few more things to say. Just get comfy. He's a Clarendon scholar, national champion percussionist, international negotiation winner, and an Oxford half-blue in orienteering. Dylan's also been a long-time contributor to the Future Problem Solving Australia, earning national coaching and youth awards and helping develop young thinkers. And he is the president of Future Problem Solving International and Board of Trustees. There was a much, much longer list of things, and I just had to summarize it because Dylan he's a super guy. His achievements span science, leadership, sport, and community development, reflecting his dedication to excellence, innovation, and inspiring the next generation. He's also returning to his old school. Welcome back to Knox, Dylan. The microphone is yours.
All right, it's going to be pretty hard to beat all of that, so I'm going to see how I do. I also think you've been on my LinkedIn far too much, Simon, so I apologize if you had to read a lot of that. And I guess I've gotten out. If I don't get the chemistry right, I can go back to my chemistry teacher behind me here. But it's so wonderful to be here. Normally I'm caged up and put on the podium to talk a little bit about FPS, but today I'm going to step out of that a little bit and share a bit about what I do outside of future problem solving, which is some science, a little bit of problem solving in the real world, and specifically nanotechnology. And I think I have a clicker here, which will help me through the slides. So, last week, very, very memorable moment in Australian science and more importantly for your topic today. The Nobel Prize for Chemistry was awarded to an Australian, Richard Robson, who's up here on the screen, 88 years old. He was the founder of a very exciting field of chemistry called metal organic frameworks. There were two others that also received the prize from America and Japan as well, but he was the one who wrote the first ever paper on this field. And it kind of opened the doors for what ended up being a huge field of nanoscience and nanotechnology in chemistry. So it's really pertinent and I think exciting that you are here now, capitalizing on all that research that's been done and accelerating it into what's going to be probably 2040, 2050 in your future scenes and thinking over the weekend. My aim today is to bring three things into this talk. We're going to talk about sponges, we're going to talk about tempered chocolate, and we're going to talk about nice layered chocolate cakes. You may think that means we're talking about my dessert. Maybe we are, but we're also going to try to talk about the materials, metal organic frameworks, and nanotechnology through these three little analogies. Before I get there, though, I want to rewind a little bit and put a bit of a substance to some of the things that a few of my colleagues were saying earlier on. So this was me, my first ever future problem solving year, 2007. I remember I was petrified walking into my first ever classroom wondering what I got into. And sure enough, it went way over my head and I was completely confused as what was going on. I think 6 months in I got to step 2 and I just could not pass step 2, as maybe you all experienced. Step 2 is that one that is impossible to overcome. I eventually started to get the hang of it and I ended up pointing at a lot of chairs and making a lot of paper suns over my time in future problem solving. But if there is one thing that I remember the most about my time in FPS, is that there's something really exciting about problems. And normally you hear the word problem and you shrivel up, you turn away, you feel something negative, right? And maybe you think of something a little bit like this. You're stuck. You're stuck in the middle of something that needs to be solved and you're working through all the nooks and crannies to figure out where the answer is. In many ways, though, I think there's a whole different way of looking at a problem, which is, in fact, it's a huge open field. It is an opportunity where you can do something different, right? It's really hard to make change. It's really hard to disrupt something in our world. But when there's something not going quite right, you have a little bit of an opportunity to get in there, do something, and kind of have the choice, the liberty to make a change. And I think that's incredibly exciting, because it's not constraining, it is freeing. And hopefully you'll feel that a little bit this weekend, not just in the present, but as you move towards the future and problem solve. Of course, then there are these kind of areas of problems called wicked problems in our world as well. And wicked problems are these ones that kind of are interconnected and have lots of drivers that influence them. Think of climate change as a good example. So you may solve one part of it because you've made people happier, but as a result, you've probably damaged more of the environment. So it's kind of like a spider's web. You pull on one end and it strains all the other parts. In that situation, a wicked problem is not easy to solve. And in many ways, some of the challenges around nanotechnology, the kinds of areas that nanotechnology wants to solve, are wicked challenges. And these required someone who's multidisciplinary, people who can think across all the different categories. You know, we used to have 16 categories in FPS. Now, can someone tell me how many there are? 20? 21? Yeah, 22, there we go. It just keeps growing, right? So we have more and more categories because there is so many different sectors and myriads of the world that we need to combine together and think about collectively to solve these really, really difficult problems. I think solving these big problems is where I've kind of gone throughout my career so far, and the point of this slide is really just to tell you I've been a bit all over the place and I still can't work out what to do. So a little bit of a life tip: if you don't know, it's all right. I'm sure you'll find your way at some point. If not, if you keep doing what you love and you keep trying to solve problems and doing exciting things for the people around you, you're probably going to be in a really good place. I will point out what I'm doing at the moment, though, at a place called McKinsey & Company. We are, I guess, consultants. We go out and we advise lots of people on how to make things better, make more of an impact in the world. And for a few years now, I thought future problem solving is kind of in my history. It's not going to show up too much. And all of a sudden, I started working here. And for 4 hours a day, we have meetings called problem solving, literally called problem solving. And only 2 weeks ago, I spent 8 hours writing underlying problems for my job. And we had to give those to fairly large banks and businesses in Australia as they were trying to figure out how to solve their problems. So what you're doing now is not just sort of like a lighthearted 6-step process to help you skill up at school. It's something that executives, seniors, leaders in the world, business people, scientists, musicians, artists are all still using in their framework to overcome really big, wicked problems. So keep in mind that this is going to be a lifelong lesson and learnings that we'll really hold on to into the future. Enough though about a little bit of my past. Let's get into nanotechnology. Maybe you think of all of this when you hear nanotechnology, great fun movies of sentient robots that are combined together to destroy the universe. In part, maybe that is what's coming in the next couple of thousand years, but for now, nanotechnology is actually really, really powerful. There are lots of reports, and I'm not going to bore you with too many slides and data, but there are lots of reports around just how many different wicked problems and areas in the world that nanotechnology can solve. And you've probably researched so many of these already. We're thinking medicine, drug delivery. We're thinking ways of being able to clean the environment, capture pollution, capture carbon dioxide from the air. We're thinking materials to make sporting teams faster, materials that are going to make fashion more accessible and interesting, ways of helping developing countries access water. I mean, you can go on and on and on about all the areas that nanotechnology might change. The question I want to get to for a minute is why? Why is nanotechnology going to potentially change all of this compared to any other piece of science? And that comes down to answering three questions. What is nanotech, which hopefully you've all figured out by now, but if not, here's a little tip and reminder. Number two, why nanotech? And then number three, where are we starting to see it? So a bit of scale, you've probably read about some of this before. If we're thinking about 80,000 nanometers is the width of a single human hair that you have on your head. You go back a little bit further, you've got a blood cell, go back a bit further, an atom is about 0.3, and 0.1 nanometers is a single atom. So these are tiny, tiny things at the nanoscale. You're dealing with the tiniest units of kind of matter that chemistry is concerned with when you're doing nanotechnology. And that's really powerful, because you can start to build things up from the tiniest pieces in whatever custom way you want to. That means we can get nanotechnology in 1 dimensions like planes, in 2 dimensions across X and Y, or in full 3-dimensional cavities, big spaces that we cover and fill using nanotechnology. Why nanotech? And I promise you, this is my only technical scientific slide that I'm going to really bring up today. There are 2 things I want you to think about a little bit when we ask why nanotech. From a very technical perspective, number 1 is surface area. Imagine you've got a big wood block. You chop it in half. You chop it in half again. And then you take those 4 blocks you've just chopped and you chop each of those in half. And then you keep chopping and chopping until you've got about 1,000 different wood blocks on your table. What you've just done is increase massively the surface area that is exposed. And the more surface area you have for something, the more you can react it with other things, the more you can get it to respond to different things. If it's, let's say, a light emitter, the more surface area means the more light it will emit. I mean, basically, more surface area, the better it is for everyone. So that's point number 1. When you get to nanotechnology, you can deal with things at such a small level that you increase the surface area. So more powerful, more reactive materials. Number 2 is quantum effects. I still don't know really what quantum stuff is. I remember making a joke about it in one of my early skits for future problem solving, and we waved our hands around and went, ooh, quantum entanglement, and hoped that the judges would get it. Really, what we're talking about is that when you deal with things that are atoms, 2 or 3 atoms together, and they mix, the world doesn't look like it does in the bulk, in the real human scale kind of life that we're dealing with. It's a whole different law, a whole different rule of physics that applies to these things, which means you can get some really funky things that go on. You can get more powerful light emissions, you can get more interesting ways of energy operating, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to quite go into it, but the point is when you have quantum effects, it's like a different rule book that you're dealing with, and that's what allows us to open up so much potential with these nanomaterials. As I mentioned, of course, that means we have so many devices now and tools that are starting to be made with nanomaterials. We've got different carbon-based things for tennis rackets, for new basic materials, even TVs now that you have in your house probably use nanotechnology, QLEDs and things like that that drive a lot of your machinery. I can also show you these, which tell you that we're at to like 150, closer to 200 billion is an industry for nanotech, and the amount of papers and interest in the field is growing more and more and more. I think, though, at this point, you have probably done your homework and you're ready to go on nanotech. So I began to think, what could I possibly give you that you haven't seen online? Now, if you have Simon's research skills, you probably found this already online, but if you don't have Simon's research skills, I'm going to give you a little bit of what it's like for a day in the life of a nanoscientist. And maybe this will bring to light a little bit about the realities of what it actually means to do nanotechnology. So, Metal organic frameworks, the things I mentioned at the start that I deal with. We're going to imagine it a little bit like a house for guests. Here our guests are these little yellow molecules, but they could be anything in the world. Metal organic frameworks are kind of like a bit of a framework that sits on a building, if you will, like scaffolding on a building. You kind of have these edges, and they're connected by these sort of rubbery, really smooth components. And as you connect it up, it's a little bit like Lego. You can click and match them all together. So you can click it out to 2 dimensions. You can click it again, maybe. There we go. And then you get to 3 dimensions. And then if you think about that expanding infinitely in every direction, because remember, these are atoms, so we're at the nano level, you can start to get these huge open cages. And that means they're empty inside, just like a sponge. And because it's a sponge, it can take things in, and it can take things out of all of these spaces. So we can start to fill it up. They've been therefore using it to fill it up with carbon dioxide and then releasing it when it's safer. Taking up hydrogen so that we can compress hydrogen and make it easier to store it for hydrogen cars. They've been able to absorb drugs, and then you kind of absorb the material in your body. It goes to the point in the body where it needs to be released, and then it releases. So there's so much potential in being able to kind of suck up and suck out different materials. And the nano stuff can happen inside the pores, so you can take up nanomaterials and release them, in which case you've kind of solved one of the key problems with nanotech, which is if you let it go run wild in the world, it could be quite dangerous. But if you contain it and constrain it in a bit of a cage, a framework, then you're likely to keep it a little bit more protected. And the people who are using it a bit more protected as well. My work also kind of went to figure out how can we make nano stuff of these metal organic frameworks. And I'm going to call them MOFs from now on. And kind of went, well, what if we went to 2 dimensions rather than these 3D cages? If you go to 2D, we're getting more surface area. And if you remember what I said earlier, more surface area means more reactive, more emissive for light, so many more kind of interesting potentials at the nano level. So that was what I kind of endeavored to set out to do. Not much has been done on it yet. It's really hard to like get these nano things. And I went, well, how can we actually achieve this to try to get some more powerful materials at the nano level? It's a little bit like tempered chocolate. You think about a big solid block of chocolate. It's fairly dull, doesn't shine. It tastes all right, right? You know, a Cadbury block of chocolate, or even worse, a big like kilogram block of chocolate. But then you go and temper it, you heat it up, you reshape it, and all of a sudden you've got something that's shiny, something that's crispy, something that tastes somehow just even sweeter and nicer than before. That's sort of what we're doing here. We're verting what was originally a box down to a beautiful thin sheet. And that thin sheet is our metal organic nanosheet, or these 2D forms of MOFs. This is a fancy name of it, MOF Nontronics. And what you can do inside it, now that we have these kind of layers, is you can piece stuff inside the layers, kind of like a sandwich, right? Or, as I said earlier, a little bit like a cake. And you can start to fill between these layers more interesting materials and more interesting functions, squish them together, and then you've got a little bit of a sandwich of a material. What does this look like when I was doing things day to day? A lot of you might imagine and hear Oxford and think of things like this, flowing gowns, Hogwarts, stadiums and arenas and fancy old buildings. Unfortunately, this was actually what I did every day for about 20 hours each of those days. And I sat in the chairs. If you're lucky, one of them worked, and it often smelled quite bad. No air conditioning, no heating, so it got a bit cold as well. And for some reason, the birds love to come inside. So every month or so, we would find a magpie sitting, nesting itself inside our research. Fortunately, it lived, I think, but it was a worrying sign every time it came in. So we're sitting there. And how do you make a nanomaterial? Well, it's actually just like being in a kitchen. You sit there, you mix some stuff together, some salts basically that looks like your table salt, and it spirals around for a good 12 hours on a bit of heat, like 20, 30, 40 degrees, like a good bolognese, and just sauteing away before you eat it for dinner at night. The stuff I was making was particularly luminescent, so it like lights up under particular light. And in that case, it's really cool because you can tell you've made the right material if it lights the right color, and it looks pretty good. The problem is, though, when you see it at eye, you don't actually know if it's a nano material. Anything could have been constructed in that process of mixing it up in the lab. And this comes one of the biggest challenges with nanotechnology that maybe you uncovered a little bit in your research, which is how do we actually measure, how do we look at, how do we know what a nanotechnology item is? You wish you could just put a microscope up and discover it, but no luck, right? This is so small that you need something really, really high resolution to see at that level. And to see at that level, you've got to go to places like this. These are synchrotrons. They cost a lot of money, and they use a huge amount of energy. Huge amount of energy. I mean, this is like more energy than almost everything that on Earth we can kind of make with manual man-made features. They're big, large circles, and they kind of spin things around really quickly, collide them, and it creates energy. If you're lucky, you get like 2 days of this a year, and you go into these big machines, and you kind of sit there, and you put your materials in and just hope that you get out the right thing. But that's costly, it's timely, and it's really hard because if you don't get it right, you wait 12 months until you can go back and have another go. So nanomaterials are challenged by actually being able to figure out what they look like. There's one other like sneaky solution. Here I am, just for scale, this is like one of the sizes of the kind of machines that we deal with, a microscope, but on steroids. This is what you do get, actually. So if you're lucky enough to be able to get a good picture out, and we're talking like, if you're thinking about the thinness of this thing up on the screen, you're at about 10 nanometers. 10 nanometers. So we're looking at items that are immensely small, and you'd have billions of those just on this kind of space that I'm looking at across of my hands. This is a little sneaky tool here. This is like a little thing that taps on the surface. And if you imagine it tapping along the surface and it walks along, if the ground is higher, it will raise, and then the tapping will go higher as well. And this can tap so carefully that you know when it goes up a single nanometer. So we can actually track the height from the ground up to the point of the nanometer thick material. This is expensive too, though, and it's like really easy to break. If you even like brush your finger over the top of the little clicker, it will destroy it, and you've got to spend a while making a new one. So for anyone with larger, clumsier fingers, nanotech is a difficult thing to work with. The point of all this, though, is that it's expensive, it's costly, and it's really hard to figure out what you're doing with nanotechnology. Of course, then, if you can actually make it, and you, after all that time, figure out that you've got the right material, how do you even fabricate it? How do you make it into something useful? I showed you a little vial, and that was cool, but how do you make it into something useful? And that's the second kind of big challenge that the field is grappling with at the moment. Can you find a way to print it, for example? And this complicated tool that has more than 600 little attachments to it is one such tool that can like aerosol out materials and create nano patterns. But again, there's one of these in all of the United Kingdom, and there's none in Australia, and you'll be lucky to find too many others around the world. So actually being able to manufacture useful nanomaterials at the right scale, in the right kind of form, is really, really difficult. When you do, though, you can do some pretty cool things. So this is like, let's scale up now. Imagine we made the nanomaterials. This is one of the things that I got to reach to by the end of my PhD. So we're thinking of a kind of little polymer thing. It just looks like a strip of plastic. You drop it in the water, and it'll change color, depending on whether the water is pure or impure. So a really fast and easy way to know whether you can drink water or whether you should probably run the other way and hope that you will live. All of this to tell you that I guess nanotechnology sounds phenomenal, and I think there is so much potential for it, but it's also hard, and there's a lot of work to still get it right and to be able to scale it up and make it as powerful as we want to be. What that means is this weekend, for you as problem solvers, you have a cool opportunity where a field is like still growing and not quite as big as it could be, to make a bit of a difference, to think of a different way about how we might use this, and figure out some of the frameworks and rules that might apply to the ethics and the accessibility and the way that nanotech is built into society. So I can't wait to see all of the problems that you build over this weekend. I miss severely being in that team room, problem solving and doing the global issues booklet. So I will be probably walking around a little bit and enjoying seeing you all having so much fun over the weekend. I want to leave you though with just one final message. This is one of my favorite quotes from a gentleman, Steve Jobs, that founded Apple, amongst other things. And he said, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits and the bandits. But he said, at the end of the day, they're not actually crazy. And the reason is because they're the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world. And they're indeed the ones that do. And I think that sums up pretty much everyone in this room and everyone that is part of our future problem solving family. So I can't wait to see all the crazy things you do this weekend. Have so much fun. And come say hi if you're around. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dylan. And as a special treat, Suze has selected some chocolate for you. How fortuitous. I hope it's shiny and tasty and all those things that you suggested it should be. Excellent. And I hope you agree, too, that we had an excellent keynote speaker today. Dylan connected his past and his future and the topic and future problem solving, all those things together, and we really couldn't go past inviting Dylan to be our guest speaker tonight. So thank you again, Dylan. Cheers. I'd now like to hand over to Bron Dandy, who is from Future Problem Solving Australia. And she's got some very important last-minute things to tell you about this week. So please listen in very carefully.
Unfortunately, not quite as inspiring as Dylan, however, necessary. And if that picture of a chocolate cake has made you as hungry as it's made me, the relief is that this is the final part of tonight's proceedings. So, they are messages that are important in terms of us, A, respecting our host school, Knox Grammar, and also to ensure that we keep you safe. So, the first thing, emergency evacuation procedures. We've all practiced them at school multiple times each year. Should there be an emergency, please follow the instructions. Should we hear the evacuation response, please make your way calmly to the playing field, where you should find your coach, who will then mark the roll and make sure that everyone is accounted for. If we were to receive the lockdown alert, we will stop whatever we are doing, close the doors and windows until we hear that we're clear and that we can return to what we were doing before that alarm. Now, around your necks, I see the lanyard. That lanyard is your security and your ticket to the finals this weekend. But if you look on the back of it, it contains a lot of essential information for the proceedings this weekend. So on there, it will have your rooms for whatever competition you're participating in. So if in doubt, consult that. I have it on good authority that if that information conflicts with what your coach's information is, go with the coach. Okay? So if there is any contradiction between what's on the lanyard and what your coaches believe, then please go with whatever the coaches are telling you to do and where they tell you to go. In respect to Knox, can we make sure, please, that there is no food in the rooms, that all food's to be consumed outside, okay? No one needs to be cleaning up at the end of a seriously busy weekend. Community Problem Solving Fair is held in the senior hall between 12 and 1. So that's a great opportunity for you, if you haven't been involved in community problem solving before, to have a wander over there and see what that competition is all about. Future Problem Solving Central, that's a pretty groovy name, is fundamentally the Future Problem Solving Office. So if there are any problems or any issues, that's your Future Problem Solving Help Desk. And that's located in the Seniors Hall, which I gather is on the other side of the campus. So that's where you're going to get your steps up to. Scenario writers and performers have a workshop at 1 p.m. And if you have a very lucky green monitors attachment on your lanyard, you've won the lottery, and you need to report for duty 8 o'clock for an 8:15 start. So if you have the green monitor tag under your name badge, please ensure you attend this meeting so that you know what you need to do, and just understand how much we're relying on you to ensure a safe and successful finals this weekend. So thank you for those people who have offered to assist. Action plan presentation heats are at 2 p.m. and the finals are at 4 p.m. And I'm very jealous that I don't get to see those. They are such a highlight of this weekend. You will be assigned a preparation room for those action plan presentations, and you're going to have so much fun with all those materials that you've brought up: crepe paper, sticky tape, newspaper, etc., etc. Please make sure that the rooms are clean and tidy before you leave them for your action plan presentation. Take everything with you when you leave that room, please. On Sunday, following the closing ceremony, please make sure that someone from your team comes to collect your score sheets. Okay, they'll have all that information that you'll take back to your schools. So please have someone come and collect those, just one person from each team, and just bear with us as we distribute those to you. Finally, in keeping with the chocolate cake, have fun, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.